I heard that there was a lot of rumors that he burned his bridges in Hollywood and stuff.
No. The sequel rights were tied up with the company that made the first one. Well, the company that made the first one didn't fulfill their contractual obligations, so there was a lawsuit. Now, it was tied up in litigation because they wouldn't allow the second one to be made unless everybody dropped the lawsuit. So by the time the judge said, you don't have to make it with them anymore, the minute that happened, they greenlit it in 20 minutes. So the minute the litigation was over, studios were like, yes, greenlit, go, make it, so that was the deal with that.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody? Yes, sir.
How was your experience working with Willem Dafoe? The first one.
Killer.
He's a weird.
You know what? He's not weird. He's not. It's like
He's always.
He's a good actor.
He plays weird guys, but this is I did a movie called Suicide Kings with Christopher Walken, right?
Yeah.
And if you listen to that guy talk, you think this guy's out of his fucking mind. Like say that sentence that I just said. This guy's out of his fucking mind. Well, I mean that's what a lot of people use that terminology, right? And it doesn't sound weird when I say it. But if Christopher Walken said it, he'd go, "This guy is out of his fucking mind," and you're like, what? But if you transcribe what he's saying, it's totally normal. And that's like Willem Dafoe. Willem plays like fruitcakes on camera, but he's a normal guy. I mean, he's like.
If you look at the first Boondock and the camera's going around us when we're at the police station and we're saying all the different languages, I kept messing up my lines and forgetting all my languages. But when the camera would go behind Willem, he'd go and mess me up more. And he thought it was hysterical, so we do it over and over. But if you look really carefully, I look up at the sky when I'm talking. I'm reading that on a cue card.
Norman had every fucking language written on cue cards, pasted around the room.
Every time the camera would go behind Willem, he'd go. It messed me up. So
no, that's not even minor. Willem Dafoe, like the gentle artist behind the camera. When the camera would go behind him, he'd be like to Norman, and Norman would be like, "The stinky cut." I'm sorry, he couldn't keep a straight face.
He thought it was funny. We just kept going.
It was funny though. It was funny as hell, man.
Yeah, he's a
because
great
it's Willem Dafoe.
I'll tell you another story about Willem. I was in New York. I live in New York. I was putting my key in my door, and here's Norman. It's the middle of the day. Right, shopping, people shopping all around and stuff. Norman, I look around and I see this old guy like this, right? And I'm like, who the fuck is that man? I put the key back in. Norman, I turn around, and then after like 3 times of that, he stands up and it's Willem, and he's walking around Soho in New York like this in the middle of the day, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm doing a vampire movie. So he's walking around amongst all these people, like, and he takes it very seriously. He's a great actor. I mean, who can pull that off? That's somebody like Willem Dafoe.
Anybody else? Yeah.
How was it for you to learn the German text?
In Boondock?
Yeah.
You learn it phonetically on the day or not. But yeah, it's it's like any other language.
I
switch
still
it over in every language.
Yeah, it does, but like
in the German version,
Norman has
it's
short-term memory. When he memorizes, it lasts like until they say cut and they move on. No fucking recollection.
I forgot what we were just talking about.
Yeah. I still remember German lines from Young Indiana Jones. I still
say
remember,
it.
I don't know what I mean. I think it means something like although I'll tell you. I'm probably saying it wrong at this point, but. Ik habe mich in London gemeldet und sah die Aktion im Norden, obwohl ich als Corporal del belgischen Armeediener freue ich mich sehr, dass uns französischen Ausstreifen zu helfen. Something like that. I probably fucked up a couple words, but and in one episode, Indy said, like they were saying, like, oh, what was it like in Berlin? And he goes, the medals, so sure. That's a good one to remember. Right?
Norman, can you speak German too?
No. I can barely speak English. Anyway?
What German words did you learn yesterday?
Oh.
I I didn't learn any German. No. There was something about
What's
eyes.
up? What's up?
Yeah, what was?
I don't know.
I can't remember what was
About
up.
about 4 in the morning, my hotel phone rings, and it's Norman, and he goes, "How do you say take off your panties in German?" I was like, "That's a true story." I was like, "Go to bed, Norman. Kick her out. She's no good." I'm kidding.
It's crazy. We're just like brothers, actually, like big brother beating up little brother.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Back there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about the Pandorum shoot?
Yeah, well, Pandorum, I was that was a big budget, German sci-fi film, but I was doing Boondock 2 at the same time I was doing Pandorum. So I was flying from Toronto to Berlin back and forth and filming both at the same time for a few weeks. So it was fun, and it's nice to see Christian do a big scale thing. Ben Foster was fun. He's the only person I worked with, but I do that, and I do Boondock, and then I'd go back, and then they'd hang me upside down and cover me in oil, and I was dying. But it was fun.
So, wir haben noch ein paar Minuten. Also, 1, 2 Fragen können wir noch
Yeah.
machen.
Earlier, I don't know if you remember, but we talked a little bit about the young Indiana Jones shoot, and you said you really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What about you probably have met George Lucas then, and what about the rumors young Indiana Jones just being a training for special effects, being just him trying to see if it works for the new Star Wars films, for the new Indiana Jones film, just practicing?
It was a combination of a number of things. He wanted to have something to give to the American school system that was educational. So like every episode of Young Indy is 100% true. The only fictitious character is the Indiana Jones character. So when you see Indiana Jones during the suffragette movement, there's Vicky Prentice. There's all real characters. So he wanted to do that, but also we were the first people. Like you've all heard of green screen, right? Well, it was blue screen when we did it. So when it first started off, it was blue screen. Like we revolutionized all that stuff. I remember before anybody had ever heard of replication, I would be walking down a dirt road, and George would say, "All right, I want you to look to your right," and they'd have a fan, and they'd blow wind on my hair. They're like, "We're gonna put a biplane. It's gonna land right next to you." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna look fucking great." And then you see the final product, and I'm walking down a dirt road, and I move, and the plane lands, and it blows my hair, and I was like, "Wow!" I mean, they replicated Army. We'd have 15 guys, and they'd replicate it 100 times, and it looked like there's a fortress of 1,000 men behind it. So it really was. I mean, it kind of blew my mind as well, and it was it's really what put ILM on the map. That's his special effects company. So it worked.
Frage? Eine können wir noch dran.
I just wanted to ask if any of you would like to. Is there a character you would really like to play in the future? Anything, or have you already found the character?
Well, we've agreed, like, when they make the Norman Reedus story, I get to play Norman.
I don't know. It's all it changes. I don't know. There's not one super person I like to play. I'd love to do a western. I think learn how to ride a horse. Or not.
It's a funny story there. Whenever in the beginning of Boondock 2, it opens up and we're on horses, right? So Troy calls. I'm from Texas. So Troy calls me. He's like, "Flannery." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you ride a horse?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, click."
I never said I could ride a horse.
He calls up Reedus. Well, I'm on the phone with Duffy. He's like, "Yeah, I just talked to Reedus. He can ride too. We're good." Click. Hang up the phone. So on the day, we're out in Toronto, and it's green, rolling hills, and so we both mount up. They kind of used a crane to put Norm on his horse, and Norm is sitting there. Norm is sitting there, and he's on the horse, and the horse is just sitting there. And I look at him. He looks a little nervous. He's like smoking a cigarette, and the horse just takes a step, and this is what Norm does. "It's moving! It's moving! Guys! It's moving! it was like shifting its weight. Motherfucker wasn't taking a step. This guy was fucking panicked.
In New York. We don't have horses in New York.
And that's like when an actor tells you they can do something, that means like, if an actor says I can ride a horse, that means if you put me on it, I probably won't fall off if it stays there.
I never said I could ride a horse.
He fucking panicked. He was like, Flannery, it's moving. I was on my horse fucking crying.
I've heard this story like 1,000 times.
That's a fucking story, man.
Okay, guys.
Non-beating up stories.
Who else? Any more?
So,
Just short.
for the pictures right now. So
Yeah, if there was four questions, then we'll cut it off. Because I asked you.
Okay.
Who else?
Just short questions. Any ambitions to direct a movie? Any of you? Someone?
Yeah, I have a film called I Was a White Slave in Harlem about a transsexual sex slave heroin addict. That's a true story about somebody in New York that I'm sort of in pre-production. And I've directed some short films that I sell on bigbaldhead.com. So go, guys.
Who else? Yes.
in your childhood, do you have role models? Famous role models?
Shit. Not really, no.
Not really?
No. I mean, I meet people and I inspire to be like them in different ways, but I didn't have like a cartoon hero that was like my hero.
Really, mine. I know it sounds retarded and a cliche, but my dad was just fucking cool. I still call my dad every time I don't know the answer to something. You know what I mean? It's like my dad. He never quit being the dad like when you're 7 and you're like, my dad. Oh. Even now, I'm like, fuck, my dad's cool. You know what I mean? Who else? Yes.
Did you keep any props from the Boondock scenes?
Everything. Everything. Fuck yeah. They're like, hey Flannery, did you take your pea cut? I'm like, yeah, man. It's fucking in the trailer. Fuck yeah. Stole it all.
The original stuff.
Yeah. Every 9mm casing that we shot, I put those in baggies. I brought them home. Yeah. Like when fans like go, oh man, my son just went to the military. It'd be great. I sign a shell casing. I mail it to him. Like it's like really shot from them. It's just like cool shit, you know. It's like I would like to get that, you know. I thought, fuck, I'll give it that. I mean, fuck, if like you said, hey man, I love Josie Wales and Clint Eastwood sent you a fucking shell, I'd be like, fuck, Clint, you know. So I just thought it was cool, man. I stole all kind of stuff. Anybody else?
Working on that zone?
What about it? It was great. It was killer. I love playing bad guys, man. I love that. I love that. Bad guys are the funnest to play. You know, so yeah, it just wreaked havoc, you know. Like, screwing with people. It's the best. He was good. He's a nice guy. Yeah. Not real social, but he's a nice guy. I mean, we'd all go out at night. I don't know where he went. But
Really?
yeah. Yeah. I'm just singing it out, you know.
Okay, any last words from you two?
Any last words? Any questions? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody?
Here you go.
Yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah. Want to know one thing regarding Boondock? How much Sean is in Murphy, or the other way around, how much Murphy is in Sean?
I think there's a lot of both of us and both of us. You know, I think if we were going to go plan to kill somebody, I think Sean would plan it out, and I'd flip out and have a good time with it.
Yes, that's pretty accurate. I'd make a plan, he'd fuck it up, but he'd have a great time fucking it up. Yeah, man.
So, okay.
All right, guys, thanks
Yeah.
very much.